This is Good Evening San Diego.
It was a deadly weekend at Black's Beach in La Jolla. 8 people were killed when their smuggling boat flipped over late Saturday night. It was a foggy night as well. KUSI's Dan Plante joins us live from the cliffs above Black's Beach. He's got more on all of this. Dan?
Yeah, what a brutal, brutal weekend. It was the deadliest weekend we've ever seen when it comes to an immigration event. And you know, over the past 20, 30, 40 years, we've seen a lot of immigration events, if you will, here. Panga boats coming up and crashing. And in fact, you know, just last year on Sunset Cliffs, 3 people were killed. That boat captain was actually captured, convicted, and now is spending 18 years in prison as a result of that. But week after week, month after month, we're seeing more and more of these boats come up on shore. Most of the time they make it and then they just run to freedom. But unfortunately, or I don't know, whatever happened, something happened. And unfortunately, 8 people lost their lives out here and the rest of them just scattered. So presumably all the rest of them are somewhere here in the neighborhood or somewhere in California. But yeah, what a tough thing. And unfortunately, the circumstances that night are what prevented the first responders from getting down here and saving more people. Got a chance to catch up with a former lifeguard, former sergeant, who used to do this for a living. And here's what he had to say about what happened over the weekend. One day after the deadliest smuggling event in San Diego history, the search is still on for more possible victims. We do know there were 2 boats and 8 people died, but it could be more.
They determined how many people had drowned by the number of life preservers that went up on the beach, but they're not sure because they're talking to people who may not be telling them the truth on how many people actually made it and how many people are still in the water.
This is the scene on Sunday morning over at Black's Beach by the time the first responders could get there. Unfortunately, the conditions that night prevented most of the rescue teams from making it to the scene of the tragedy.
It was a perfect storm. You had a high tide at night at Black's Beach. So what does that mean? That means we could get no vehicles on the beach. First responders are going to be stuck up 200 feet, 300 feet on the cliff. They can't do anything.
Because of those conditions, only one lifeguard was able to maneuver his way down the cliffs. And when he got there, he found the worst possible outcome.
And then he says, I'm involved in a multi-casualty situation. I don't have any resources. It's just me. So how do you take one lifeguard in this situation and have him do everything to everybody? Who do you do CPR on? Is there other victims in the water? You got 2 capsized vessels. And so we just don't have the resources to respond to this type of situation.
Sadly, this type of situation is happening more and more along the San Diego coastline. Day or night, north or south, the cartels are smuggling human cargo more than ever before. And to them, the loss of human life is simply the cost of doing business.
This is happening at La Jolla. That's La Jolla Shores, happening at Mission Beach. So we are seeing an increase in a tick, and we hope it doesn't trend because, like, it was tragic. 8 people drowned, almost make it to the beach. There's no rescuers there to help them. Everyone's scrambling. They probably were sitting on their life preservers instead of wearing them, and even when they wear them, they put them on wrong. They slip underneath, and you have 8 dead people that is totally preventable.
Yeah, all right, back out here live at the cliffs above Black's Beach, and if you've ever been out here, you know it's quite treacherous to get down. People slide and fall all the time, and of course that's where the Coast Guard, there were actually 2 Coast Guard boats out here earlier today, and they were searching for, you know, maybe there was another person on that boat that didn't make it. You know, sometimes the ocean has a funny way of taking people out and then they resurface later, but they were out here looking and they didn't find anybody, that to the best of our knowledge. So what we're looking at now is 8 victims. The U.S. consulate here, or the Mexican consulate here in the United States, actually responded to this, saying that according to the identification that they got from the victims, that 7 of them are from Mexico. We're not sure about the 8th person that they found, but what a tragedy. Between 15 and 20 people, I guess, were on both of those boats. Might have been more. So the 8 people who lost their lives, of course, they didn't make it, but the other people were not captured, were not caught, so presumably they're out here running around somewhere in California. And once again, I know the president was here on a very important mission for global peace against China, and obviously it doesn't get much bigger than that, but we do have a catastrophe that's happening on the ground right now, and I hope he understands what's happening here in Southern California because of policies that are coming out of Washington, D.C. We're at Torrey Pines. We'll throw it back to you guys.